Hey, Sorority Chatters. The holidays are so busy for all of us, so I'm taking a break and hope you are too. I'm going to re-air some of my favorite conversations with past guests. In case you missed them the first time, you can give them a listen, or if you just want to re-listen for fun. In the meantime, enjoy your holidays, have a great new year from me and Bartlett, and we'll see you in 2026. On this episode of the Sorority Chat podcast.
That's why I think the work that we do teaching just general social skills is so critical during recruitment, because a lot of these women are not getting that because, they've survived the pandemic and they're on devices and they don't know any different. This is how they've been raised. And so just teaching them some good social and life skills is really a practical aspect of recruitment too.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Sorority Chat. I'm Liz Toombs, a designer and sorority alum who's obsessed with all things Greek life. My mission? To bring you real conversations, smart insights, and fun stories that help make sorority living even better. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's chat. As spring recruitment peaks around the corner, we're bringing back a powerhouse episode with Heather Dixon Adams. If you've ever wondered what's really going on behind the scenes during recruitment from the chapter's perspective, this one's for you. Heather keeps it real, insightful, and fun. Hey, Heather.
Hey, Liz. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks for making time to join me. I know you're in the midst of recruitment season and working with chapters, so you're a busy lady.
Yes, we are in the midst of work week and recruitment season across the country, and so it's an exciting and fun time.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you on and just talk more about the things that you do working with the chapters and the women on stuff like leadership and confidence and all of those good things. But I would love to start at the beginning of your story with AOPI and tell us more about what drew you there and just what that journey was like for you.
Yeah. So in 1994, I went through recruitment at the University of Georgia and pledged AOPI. And, for me, I was the first woman in my family to go to college. So I didn't have any kind of history or experience or exposure to Greek life prior to me going to Georgia. And so when I went through, I didn't know what to like, what not to like, what to do, what not to do, what to wear, what not to wear, all the things that everybody's, thinking about these days. I just went through because I wanted Athens to feel smaller. And Georgia is a really big campus, and I was away from home for the very first time. And I just wanted a great group of friends. And that's what I had heard, the sorority experience would provide. And so I was really drawn to AOPI because of the women that I met there and the relationships that I've built and formed that are still here 31 years later. Great friendships that I have. I really learned from AOPI what it meant to have deep and meaningful friendships. But so when I went through recruitment, I was only thinking about the 4 years when I was in Athens. I wasn't thinking about all these years later as an alum. And I have gotten so much more out of the sorority experience as an alumni than I ever even imagined possible as an active.
Isn't that wild? You're not the only one. There's nobody at 18, 19 years old walking through those doors thinking much beyond like this semester and maybe 4 years. You have no idea the way that it impacts you. And I completely relate to what you were saying about you wanted to make Athens feel smaller and have a more intimate experience, because that's exactly how I felt at Kentucky.
I just think when women are going through recruitment, they are thinking about, the years that they're a college student, what girls can I be friends with? What events can I go to? What can I get involved in on campus? What fraternity boys can I meet? Like that, that's their mentality, right? Yeah. And it was mine too, so I understand it. But 31 years later, I'm just like, the sorority experience provides so much more than just that. And so when people say to me, so you were an AOPI, right? And I'm like, I am an AOPI. It's not were. It's not past tense. It's over with when you graduate from college.
No, that's very true. And it's just a small tweak in the verbiage, but it has
Yeah.
big, deeper meaning. So talk a little bit about you when you're working with these chapters to bring in PNMs and to recruit for their chapters. Like, how do you see their leadership skills developing, and how are you mentoring and leading these young women as they're going through that process?
Well, what I love about the recruitment experience on both sides, on the potential new members side and on the sorority woman side, is it provides such exceptional opportunity to learn life skills. I have so many women who come back years later and say, I was just at a wedding the other day and I thought about you because my husband and I didn't know anyone, but I knew how to work the room at the wedding because of what I learned from you during recruitment. Or, years later, they'll say in their professional career, recruitment, prepared them so much for interviews and advocating for themselves and leading and managing a team and time management skills. And all of those things are things that they learn through the process of recruitment. Mm-hmm. And I think we're so enamored with what social media says about TikTok and, on TikTok about outfit of the day and what dances they're doing to trending audio and all of that. And we're not really considering all of the life skills that these women are learning and the leadership development that is a part of the process. I think you realize it after the fact, but you're not going in thinking about that.
I would totally agree. The OOTDs and the dances are just the quick hooks that get you sucked into and interested in the process and or the outside world interested in it. But it's an entirely different experience when you're going through it and living it for 4 years.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a whole lot of 40-plus-year-old moms like me who are obsessed with Rush Talk and paying attention and invested in these girls that are going through recruitment and invested in, what's happening on campuses across the country. And I think it's because we know how exceptional the experience was for us. And so we want that for these women that are coming behind us.
Yeah, I totally agree. So you were talking about somebody who said they learned skills from you and they applied that at a wedding. What are some of the approaches that you take in teaching these women skills and trying to mentor them and coach them through things?
Well, of course, Liz, there's a lot of what I call logistics that they're learning, right? Like, here's how you walk to the door and pick a girl up, and here's how you introduce yourself when you walk her to this section of the house, and then we're going to have this program and, all of that stuff. There are those details that I call logistics. That to me is so minute in the grand scheme of things when it comes to recruitment. For me, the number one responsibility that I have is to empower women to step into their confidence and to be the best version of themselves and to polish that up. And to learn how to, step into that confidence is really something that I think sets them up to be successful walking through the recruitment experience, whether it's on the PNM side or it's on the sorority side.
Yeah, I agree. So talking about confidence, do you have any advice that you would give women on how to, like, quote, sell themselves in a new situation or let people get to know them? Maybe sell themselves was not the right thing to say, but let folks see them and who they are and kind of be authentic as they're forming these new relationships.
Yeah, I think for me, and I share this, no matter the chapter that I'm at, but you have something that makes you feel like the best version of you. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in high school and I went to my senior prom, I wore a red prom dress and I had my hair and makeup done. And the woman that did my makeup said, you've got to have a red lip. You have dark hair, you have light eyes, you're wearing a red dress. You have to have a red lip. It's going to look fabulous on you. And I was 18 years old and I was like, I don't know if I should be wearing a red lip in 1994. And she put it on me and didn't, when she finished my makeup and she turned me to the mirror and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, there she is. There she is. Like, I felt so beautiful. I felt like such a confident, beautiful, strong version of myself. And so to this day, at 49 years old, I wear a bold red lip almost every single day of my life because it makes me feel like a confident Heather. when I'm meeting with a client that I'm trying to convince to do work with choice, when I'm, at the Today Show with a client, when I'm standing in front of a chapter full of, college women, I want to feel like a confident Heather. And so what I tell our women is, I want you to figure out what that red lip is for you. What is that red lip thing that makes you feel like the best version of you? For some women, it's a great skincare regimen. For other women, it's wearing heels. For other women, it's doing a devotion in the morning while they're getting ready, or listening to great music to set the tone for the day. It's so different depending on the woman. Other women, it's like getting a lot of rest or drinking a ton of water. Everybody has something that makes them feel like the best version of themselves. And I want them to figure out what that is. And I want them to step into that, because they will walk into a room differently if they feel like the best version of themselves, if they feel prepared, if they feel like they're exuding this energy, this vibe of confidence. And so really helping every woman to discover that and then advocate for herself as she steps into it is really my most important job as an advisor.
I love that. I love your story of the bold red lip and how that came. But then even more than that, I like that you explained how it could be different for everyone and gave examples of that, because that was going to be one of my questions, was how does that show up in other ways for other people?
Yeah.
That's great. I appreciate you sharing all of that.
Of course.
Okay, so with that in mind, in the world of social media, everybody's comparing themselves to everyone else. And, you're comparing a highlight reel to your innermost thoughts. So how does kind of having that confidence, or that one thing that helps you step into the confidence, translate into cutting out the noise that you're getting on social media and trying to not pay attention?
Well, I think social media has a place, right? And it's fun for these women to show off their outfit or to dance together or to capture. I mean, it honestly breaks up on the sorority side. It breaks up a lot of practice during work week. And it's fun for those women to, capture that content and to be creating it to trending audio or whatever. So I don't want to shortchange that. I think that social media, has its place. But I think where we go wrong is we are so worried about what other people are doing. We're looking side to side and we're comparing. Oh, my skirt's not as cute as her skirt, or her views got more views than mine did, or, this went viral and mine has, got 3 people that have looked at it. Like, there's this comparison game. And I think that's where we make a mistake. For me, each woman has to do what is right for her. When she is going through the recruitment process, it's a mutual selection process. She's deciding which places she likes and wants to go back to. And the sorority women are doing the same thing on their end. And at the end of the day, you're trying to match up values, right? But what I tell women on both sides of the equation is people join people. And so if I'm on the sorority side and I'm coaching you, you can brag all day long about all these awards that you've won and how many activities you're involved in on campus and what your GPA is and what socials and formals and things you have. But if they don't like you, they're not going to want to be in your organization, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing on the P&M side. When a P&M is going through, if she feels like she has to put on a show, if she feels like she has to be this TikTok version of herself and she can't show up authentically and honestly, then the kinds of people she's showing up for, she's not going to have a connection with, because she's not being her truest self. And so you want women to be able to be like confident in their own skin and not feel like they have to compare to everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's very true. There's so much about what you're saying that I'm starting to really connect the dots and see how your business with communication and is it PR type work that you're doing?
Yeah, we do marketing, PR, brand strategy for female entrepreneurs. So
yes. So like, wow, talk about a dovetail of how all of that is translating over to, you're just a great expert to be talking to these younger women and really helping them equip themselves with information that will benefit them as they go through college and beyond.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about what you do with your work. I understand like you work with authors, business owners. Talk more about that for a minute.
Sure. So I've been a publicist for 30 years. And, my job has always been to get clients on the Today Show, in People Magazine, in the New York Times, to secure media coverage for them. Well, 11 years ago, I started my own business, which is Choice. And the hallmark that I was known for was serving females predominantly. And so I have an all-female team. And our job is to amplify female voices, thought leaders, change agents, entrepreneurs, women in business, women who have some kind of message that we know if we can get it in front of the right audience, they will connect with it. So they could be in the health and wellness space. They could be in food or hospitality. They could be an athlete or celebrity who's on television. And I really cut my teeth in the publicity world working at two different big 5 publishing houses. And so I've worked with more than 150 New York Times bestsellers. And so I've helped launch a lot of authors. And so we still work with a lot of authors. But my job is to amplify female voices. And I take that message professionally and I just pass the baton backward to these women who are either going through the recruitment experience or in college, in the sorority. Because my whole goal is for them to learn earlier than we did, right? I don't want it to take till their 40s for them to figure this out. I would love for them to figure this out in their 20s. And so it's such a gift to be able to, across the board, regardless of generation, be able to pour into women and help them realize how they can be, their most authentic, genuine self, but also empowered and advocating for themselves and advocating for other women. I think as women, so often we're conditioned to believe we have to take other women down to advance. And I certainly learned that in my professional career. And I realized after years of doing that, if I would link arms with these women, we would get so much further together than we do individually. But it was a hard lesson, learned. And so my goal is let's teach these women coming behind us a lot sooner.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I love to mentor within my business, whether it's folks working within the company or just things outside of the business, back with Alpha Gam or people that want to get into design. So that message resonates with me because that's been my attitude is, if I had known a little bit sooner, maybe I could have done a little bit better, or hey, avoid the mistakes that I made, or here's what I learned, and just pass it on.
That's right. Unfortunately, we had to learn the hard way, and I want these women to learn instead of making the mistakes I did.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think each generation has its own set of challenges. In one way, it was positive that we didn't have social media. There was a lot more interpersonal interaction. But then at the same time, we didn't always have access to information as quickly or abundantly. Now it's the flip side. They can get a hold of information all over the place, and it's great for us to connect with them. But then there's kind of a missing link with the social in-person aspect. So it's very interesting to watch the changes.
That's why I think the work that we do teaching just general social skills is so critical during recruitment, because a lot of these women are not getting that because, they've survived the pandemic and they're on devices and they don't know any different. This is how they've been raised. And so just teaching them some good social and life skills is really a practical aspect of recruitment too.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I know that you're a boy mom, so you don't have daughters. How do you teach your boys this stuff too? Do you come home and guide them on this?
It's 100% critical that I raise men who are allies for women, right? Okay. And so when my boys were each 5 years old, and they're now 18 and 16, when they were 5 years old, I started dating my boys once a month, each boy. And I initially started it out, Liz, to teach them manners. Here's how, you pick a girl up. Here's what happens when you take someone on a date and, you go out to a restaurant. I just wanted them to learn, how to be a gentleman, essentially. Yes. Yeah. And I wanted them to learn how to date before it was time for them to date. But what those dates turned into were so much more. And it really built this sweet and really deep connective relationship with my boys that now, as they're teenagers and my, oldest son is in college, I'm looking at them and the men that they've turned into. And, they don't think it's weird that their mom is a CEO. Whereas when I was growing up, to have a female CEO would have been very strange. And they don't think that's unusual. They don't think it's strange that I have hundreds of women come into our home over the course of the year for one reason or another. They love, that this lights mom up and that this is such like a passion, for mom. And so I've taught them, like, whether they're in the classroom, on the ball field, in a boardroom down the road, like, their job is to be an ally and a partner for women, not to be an adversary. I want them to be champions for women. And so teaching them that has been really critical as they've been growing up.
Yeah, I would say so. Well, kudos to you. I love that concept of the dating and the instilling that in them very early and exemplifying it for them.
Yeah.
I would say your husband probably is an advocate too in supporting this and a good role model of that.
Oh my gosh. He is such a good backbone for me. He's like the security and safety. He's the calm to my storm. He is the one saying, you get out in front and I will stand back here and be the support system. And I love that my boys are seeing that modeled for them. He is the most invested, dedicated, loving dad. And so as our oldest has gone off to college, it's been really hard for my husband, because of the relationship that he has with our boys. And I love that my boys are also seeing a sentimental, tender side of a man and not thinking that that is something that's not acceptable,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with all of that. I think it's so great to just show the realities of things in normal life and not just, give into stereotypes or be afraid to show something one way or the other. So, well, that's great. I appreciate you sharing kind of that personal side of things as well.
Thank you for asking.
Yes. What cool projects are on the horizon for you in the business world, or I guess in the advisor world too?
Well, having been a recruitment advisor for 26 years, I have a chapter at Middle Tennessee State University that I advise day in and day out. And so coming up is our recruitment retreat and then our work week and then our recruitment. Their school does recruitment after school has started, as opposed to some of the big SEC schools that do it prior to school happening. So I'm traveling around the country, coaching chapters, helping them prepare for their work weeks and their recruitment processes. That is such a gift to me. It's so fun for me to be a part of this. It's emotionally, physically, and mentally exhausting for them. And so having someone who comes in with that, like, rah, you can do this, and equips them with the tools to do that is such a gift. On the professional side, I have 2 clients who have books launching in September that are amazing.
Nice.
Jen Hatmaker and Michelle Curran both have huge books coming out in September, and we have a lot of fun things planned for them. And it's such a gift for me to be able to serve women like that and introduce them to new audiences and, get their books out into the world and into the hands of other women so that we're amplifying their voices. And so those are some fun projects that we have going on over at Choice. And then day in and day out, I coach female entrepreneurs, women who, like me, are leading a business and a team and trying to scale their business and grow their team and attract talent and retain talent and serve clients. And, being a female entrepreneur can be a very isolating and lonely task. And not everybody has the same skin in the game. And so it's really such a privilege to be able to, be in the trenches with women like that as they are growing and scaling their business.
Yeah, your career is very much like mine in that every day or every project is different. And so I think that's what keeps it interesting. Would you agree?
For sure. Yes. I mean, the variety of people that we serve and the strategy is different for this woman versus this one over here, and we're doing different work. But pouring into our team at Choice is also, so, I have an all-female team. And so I want for them to have a different culture, environment, and experience in the workplace. I want them to have that work-life dynamic be really healthy and not toxic. And I don't want that to just be lip service. I don't want it to just be something that we tout on social media or on our website. I want us to be living that out in practice. And that's a daily task to make sure that we're paying attention to that and really, pouring into and serving our team well, not just the clients that we care for.
I fully agree with that. And I have had some ways that I've tried to implement that within my business. Things like they have dedicated business cell phones, laptops, things like that. Because as the business owner, my cell phone is everything. Everybody's calling me personally and business wise. And so I try to give my team that separation from work and personal and, kind of turning it off during work hours. So I'm curious how you like a couple examples of how you support your team in that way. And
so I'll go from small things to larger things. So small things are like every single week we have a team huddle where every single person on the team is a part of that. And it's just a quick check-in with everyone, but we start with gratitude and we end with celebration. So everyone starts with something that they're grateful for. And the way we end the call is how, what are we celebrating? What do we need to be celebrating? Where are we winning? And I don't want it to always have to be these big monumental things. It could be, Devin just led this kickoff call with a client and she killed it. And the client is like so confident and trusting of her because of the way she started that, that client off. It can be even small things like that. So our weekly huddle, starting with gratitude, ending with celebration. We have quarterly professional development days. So I pay our team once a quarter to have a day totally dedicated to professional development. And it's different for every woman. This woman over here needs to learn something, connected to her competency, while this woman over here is new to the professional world and she needs to learn something different. And so it's really customizing it to each woman and allowing, them to spend dedicated work time, really growing themselves professionally. And then we do things like we have once a quarter, just a fun, like, hey, we're getting together, we're pouring into each other socially. Like no brass tacks, no meeting, no agenda. It's just we're spending a lot of time together in community. And then once a year, I take them on a retreat where we go away and we do a little bit of work and a lot of fun. And so it's just things like that, living it out in practice. And we really try to live out our values. We have 5 of them at Choice, and they're so ingrained into our DNA and foundation of the business that, they're easy to tout off because we're actually executing and acting on them in our regular day-to-day work life. We're not just spewing them off when we're trying to sell somebody on, why Choice is great.
No, I love that. I really like that quarterly professional development and kind of tailoring it to your individual needs of the person.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Those are great. Those are really inspiring thoughts. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I just feel like sometimes people get lost in the shuffle and like in the churn of a business, whether it's a small business or a corporation. And so I think it's always great to hear what others are doing, because you made the point earlier about being a female entrepreneur. It's very isolating at times.
It is.
You don't always have the folks around you that can support you in the way you would in a larger company. And so I like that we got to talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for asking about it.
So a little bit back in the conversation, you were talking about some of the differences of the timing of recruitment. SEC schools tend to do it pre-classes starting. You were talking about MTSU doing it post-classes starting. I would love your perspective as a recruitment advisor on maybe pros and cons of the different types. I also know spring recruitment is a thing, so you go through a whole semester. And so what are your thoughts on pros and cons of the different timings?
Well, I think it has to be determined campus to campus because of the culture on that campus. So big SEC schools that have 1,500 to 2,200 women going through recruitment that don't have any challenges getting women to sign up, they can accommodate and have women move in early and, they're not disrupting the class schedule and all of that. Sense for those campuses to have it pre-recruitment. For a campus like MTSU that has a smaller Greek life, even though the university is really big, I mean, it's the biggest state school in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Even though there's a lot of students there, the Greek life is smaller and there aren't as many chapters on that campus. And so we need time once school has started to educate and advertise and market about Greek life so that there are opportunities for more women to go through the process. I think for me, it really depends campus to campus on the culture of that campus and how widely Greek life is, like who all's involved in it and how widely it's promoted and what the size of it is on that respective campus. I will say that deferred recruitment is, there are a lot of, like, Indiana University does deferred recruitment. University of Michigan does deferred recruitment. Vanderbilt does deferred recruitment. There are a lot that wait until the second semester, and they do that so that in the fall, the woman who's just moving to campus, just figuring it out, away from home for the first time, is not having to worry about that on top of, where do I go for my chemistry lab? So I think, again, campus to campus, culture to culture, it really depends. But what we are seeing across the board is so many women are coming in with more hours as a freshman. So they've done dual enrollment when they were in high school, or they've taken a lot of AP classes. And so they're coming in with college credit. And so it doesn't matter the area of the country or what school you're talking about. We're seeing a lot of women graduating in December. And that is becoming a more popular time. Instead of waiting all the way to May, they're done. They've fulfilled their obligations and they can graduate. And so they're graduating a semester early. There's still a ton of people graduating in May, but it's becoming more popular. And so these chapters are losing a lot of women when they go away for the holidays because they've graduated and they're not coming back in January. And so COB has become a much more prominent practice, whereas when I was in school, COB was very uncommon and it wasn't as popular. And we're seeing now chapters across the country, no matter the strength of the chapter or the size of the chapter or the campus, that COB is becoming a lot more popular, and it's happening more frequently in fall and in spring, not just in spring.
Yeah, it is so interesting. And I appreciate you highlighting chapter culture or campus culture, guiding that, because I talk a lot about campus culture and chapter culture when I'm designing these facilities and trying to get a lot of information to understand that better, because we're not able to design the right kind of space if we don't have a grasp on what that culture is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it depends on the area of the country you are in significantly, and, the size of the campus and the characteristics and demographics of the student population too.
Yeah, there are a lot of factors that vary how things go. Well, Heather, if you could give one final piece of advice to listeners, dealer's choice, what would it be?
That you already have it within you. I would say that women in particular, we are so worried about the perception of others. We're so worried about comparing ourselves to other people that we forget we have everything we need within us already, and we are equipped. And so I think these women that think they have to look a certain way or act a certain way or be a part of a certain organization or have a certain title in their career or make a certain amount of money or live in a certain kind of house or have so many followers on social media, like whatever the pressures are that we as women face, I think at the end of the day, you have it all within you. You don't need to change yourself in order to be successful and to have a really beautiful life.
I think that is the perfect ending. Cherry on top of your episode here. If people want to connect with you, Heather, what's the best way for them to do that?
So my handles across all social media is just Heather Dixon Adams. And Dixon is spelled Dixon, Heather Dixon Adams. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're trying to find me, that's a great place. And then my website for choice is choicemediacommunications.com if you're interested in connecting professionally.
Perfect. We'll have all of that in the show notes as well. Again, Heather, thank you so much for making time to come on and share all of your wisdom with us. It's been a great chat with you.
Absolutely, Liz. Such a privilege to be with you. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Liz's House Hot Takes. This is where I take the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years of designing Greek houses and offer you my pro tips. Here's today's house hot take. Art should enhance your space, not compete with it. Art is very personal, so it should reflect your house's vibe, not just fill up wall space. If the colors or subject matter fight with your palette in the room or make it feel more chaotic, it's time to change things up. Choose pieces that support the mood you're creating, whether that's calming, energizing, or sentimental. Good design and good art go hand in hand. Thanks for listening to another House Hot Take. For more inspiration, check out the PDR Interiors Instagram or TikTok. I'm Liz Toombs, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you got something out of today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out this video right here or this one over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. On that note, I'm Liz Toombs with Sorority Chat, and I'll see you on the next one. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry for Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Liz Toombs.